Welcome. It's Josh Holiday here, and today we're going to be talking about how to beat self-sabotage. So, this is going to be a very enlightening session where we're going to look at your mind, your unconscious mind, and if you're someone who feels stuck or if you feel like you're just not making the progress that you want in life, then this is going to be a powerful session. We're going to look into some of those reasons why we are stuck, where it feels energetically or emotionally as if we are stuck. If that's not you, then great, everything's going well. But this is really, really important information to understand about your mind and how it works and how you can reprogram it if you're wanting to create a better life for yourself, or you want to manifest more abundance in your life, or more love in your life, or more happiness in your life. This is going to be really, really important to understand, because what you need to realize is that your life is mostly run off unconscious programs. So, with our mind, generally we tend to think that we just have a mind, like this one thing. It's the brain, it's the mind, it's just the one thing, right? We talk a lot about mental health, and we don't really go into depth with how it all works. In today's session, I'm going to be going into depth. I'm going to be teaching you how it all works so that you can understand yourself better, so that you can understand your mind better. And this is going to really help you pave the pathway forward in a very positive direction. So, when it comes to self-sabotage, this is a word that gets thrown around a little bit. Now, what I like to call it is actually self-preservation, because organisms, natural organisms, never actually sabotage themselves. They don't intentionally ruin themselves or wreck themselves. That doesn't happen in nature, right? Nature is naturally a life-giving or a life-affirming process, right? It's a regenerative process. So when we talk about self-sabotage, it's almost like, oh my God, why am I doing this to myself? But it doesn't work like that. What's happening at an unconscious level is that you are, by sabotaging yourself or your growth, what you're actually doing is preserving a current version of yourself. So let's say you want to change, maybe you want a different job, you want a new career, you want a new partner, you want to change your health or something like that. But it just seems like you're not making any progress, right? So you really want it, you desire to change. However, week after week, month after month, year after year, nothing changes. And you go, why? Why is it not changing, right? It's because unconsciously you have programs that have been developed through your life that have really created a sense of identity. So we all get programmed. This is not like allocated to a few special people. Every single human is running off programs. You know, your mind or your brain is not like a computer. It actually is a computer. It is the most technologically advanced computer we know of, right? It's the in technology these days, they're starting to mix biology and technology, and they're starting to do all this crazy Neuralink stuff, and starting to mix technology with the body and with nature. Now, your brain is already like that. It's already this very technologically advanced biological like thing that is very similar to a computer, in that it can download programs from the environment. And that's exactly what happened when you were a child or when you were younger. You downloaded programs from the environment. You downloaded information from the environment. And that has created your sense of identity, your sense of who you are. So you are programmed, and every single person is programmed, and we are continuing to be programmed, whether we are conscious of it or not. So if you are not conscious of this fact, then you're maybe watching the news, or you're watching social media, or you're listening to the radio, or you're listening to your friends or your parents, and they're giving you advice, they're giving you new information. You are receiving information from your environment. Even right now on this call with me, right, you're receiving some new information. And every time you receive that new information from your environment, it's going into the hardware, it's going into the body, into the mind. Right? Now, consciously, you're aware of what's happening. You're aware of the news story. You're aware of what I'm talking about right now. You're aware of what, your parents might be telling you. You're conscious of that. However, it goes to a deeper level, which is the unconscious. So if you keep getting told the same story over and over again, like we see on the news, so much fear every single day, fear, this person died, house on fire, stabbing, all this kind of stuff, every single day, it goes into the subconscious mind. It goes into the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind is programmed through repetition. Now, it's also programmed through what you could call like hypnosis. When you're a child, from the first 0 to 7 years of your life, you are in the theta brainwave state. And the theta brainwave state is almost like this very imaginative brainwave state. It's a very suggestive brainwave state. So you're actually, every single night when you go to sleep, as an adult, you go from the awake state into the theta brainwave state, which is kind of like between awake and asleep. And then you drop off to sleep, which is delta, the delta brainwave. So when you're a kid, you're actually always in this theta brainwave state from 0 to 7. And in this theta brainwave state, you're just receiving a lot of information. And that's what I was saying before. When you're a kid, you're basically downloading all of these programs from your environment and they're going straight into the unconscious mind because you're in this theta brainwave state. So you don't have the conscious mind to like be the filter. So it all just goes straight in, right? Creates your sense of identity, creates your mental programs about who you are. And those mental programs run most of your life as you come into adulthood, right? They say that the conscious mind is only operating or influencing 5% of our reality, whereas 95% of our reality is coming from or being influenced by the unconscious mind. So I'm going to create a diagram and show you what that looks like in a second. So the thing you got to understand is that 95% of your life is influenced by unconscious belief systems, unconscious programs, and essentially just like a lack of awareness, because that's the whole nature of unconscious, being unconscious, right? It's almost like you're asleep. You're unconscious, you're not aware of it. You don't know what's happening. So for example, I got off a call with one of my one-on-one coaching clients yesterday, and I knew that she was starting to hit a bit of a roadblock. And so I asked her, I said, all right, how are you going? Like, how are you feeling? Like, what's actually going on? And she said, to be honest, I just feel stuck. I feel like I've just hit a wall. She was making some progress, but then she just butted up against this wall. And she's like, I just don't know what's going on. She had hit this imaginary wall, right? And she was like, why? I don't know. And so we dived into it, right? And we started to understand that she has a fear of change. So this was unconscious. At the start of the call, she said she didn't know what the problem was. I just feel like I've hit a wall. I've lost faith and I don't know what's going on and I just feel stuck. Right? And I was able to coach her a little bit through this. We were able to do some processes, which I'm going to talk to you about today. And then we got down into the depths of it. And she had this unconscious belief that change is scary because of programs that she learned when she was young and some family issues that meant that she started to believe that every time change happens, it means it's a destructive pattern and it creates a lot of fear and makes her scared, right? So she's associating change with fear and it's scary. So she's getting to this point in our coaching together where she's making some good progress and she's really coming up to this point where she has a choice. Do I really now change and make a big difference or do I not? And her unconscious programs are telling her, no, don't change. Change is scary, change is destructive. So we were able to identify that and go bring some awareness to that, become consciously aware of this unconscious program that was keeping her stuck. And because we were able to develop awareness around that, we started to reprogram it and we could work on installing a new program or a new belief, which is it's safe to change. It's totally safe to make changes. And then from there, she moved into this very empowered state where she realized, oh yeah, I'm not a kid anymore. Change doesn't mean what it used to mean, and I'm safe now and I can choose to make some changes in my life. And we left that call feeling like she had a path forward. She had a lot of clarity around what to do next. But I'm telling you this story because it highlights an important point, how sometimes when we feel stuck in life, it's because there's unconscious programs, unconscious belief systems that are keeping us stuck, and we don't even really know that they're there. To the conscious mind, it's like, why aren't I moving forward? But when we look a bit deeper internally, we realize that it's our programs and our limiting beliefs that are keeping us stuck in this self-sabotage. So for this client I was talking about, she was getting very anxious, even depressed, and even some really, really dark thoughts about self-harm. So this is what happens, right? When there's a part of you that wants to change, and then there's another part of you which is like a lead weight that keeps you stuck. If you can't figure out or become conscious of why you're not changing and what's holding you back from making that jump from where you are to where you want to be, and you're stuck in this like internal conflict, it can create anxiety, it can create depression, and it can create a deep sense of disharmony in the body that can almost leave you feeling like you don't even want to be here anymore. That's obviously the extreme of it. But this is what we're going to talk about, right? We're going to talk about how do we actually understand our unconscious patterns, the things that keep us stuck. Because that's the thing. The whole nature of it is that they're unconscious, so you don't know, you're not aware of them. But what we want to really understand is that we can become aware of our unconscious programs and we can change. Now, if you have negative programs from the past, you can't change the past. Right? The past is the past. It's done. It's back there. However, when you become present in the here and now, you can always choose a new future. That is a power that you have. You have the willpower to choose a new future. You don't need to be defined by memories of the past. You can create a new future. Now, if you continue to hold on to memories from the past, however, hard they may have been, it will continue to prolong your suffering. And so people get caught up in this like egoic attachment to their trauma or their past or their problems, and they really like hold it tightly because it gives them a sense of identity because it's who they are. So this can also be confronting for some people because they have to let go of who they have been to become who they want to be. And that's a hard thing to do because people are so attached to their issues. It actually, in some cases, gives them a sense of importance. It gives them a sense of meaning. It gives them a sense of identity. So I'm holding on to all of these negative things that happened to me. But what you're really doing is it's like you've got a backpack on and you're just carrying around these really heavy rocks. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at how do we actually take all those heavy rocks out of the backpack and start to change. Now I'm going to share my whiteboard. I'm going to give you a visual of how this actually works. And then we're going to get into the process for how to actually reprogram your mind and how to beat the self-sabotage. So let's get a whiteboard up. Firstly, let's just look at this model for the mind that I was just talking about. Let's say this is your mind, right? This big circle here. Hopefully you guys can see that all right. Now that's your mind. That's 100% of your mind. Here we have 5%, right? That's 5% of the mind. And then here we have 95%. This is the unconscious, right? Like I said, 95% of your life is run on unconscious programs. Only 5% is conscious, right? You're only really consciously aware 5% of the time. The other 95% of the time, you are unconscious. And what does that actually really mean? Most of your life is run on habits, right? You're just in a habitual program. Like whatever you did this morning, maybe you woke up, maybe you went to the toilet, maybe you made a coffee, maybe you had some water. Were you consciously aware of yourself doing all of that, or were you just doing it because that's how you'd usually wake up? And then you go, and then you jump on this call with me. Maybe this is something that you do every Wednesday. Maybe this is new for you. Maybe this is a new thing that you're experiencing. Cool. But then after this, right, what are you going to do? Probably have breakfast, go have a coffee, go to work, and then you're back into the program. You're back into, okay, I'm just doing these things, right? And for most of the day, you're just living in the habit, right? That's just the habitual behavior that's happening and it's happening and it's happening. And it's all mostly unconscious. You're not usually present, consciously aware that often. It's only 5%. Very little amount of time that you spend in this, like, oh, I'm conscious. Oh, here I am. Right? Most of it, you're just operating in the unconscious. So you have to understand this. You have to understand that most of your life, you're just on autopilot. So if 95% of the time you're operating in this unconscious mind and you're operating in the autopilot is going to be determined based off your programs. So you have these programs in your mind. right? Now, let's talk about how we actually start to self-sabotage. Because let's say this rounded square here is like a rock, what I was talking about before. Here's a program that you learned, right? At 5 years old, you learned this thing about yourself. And then when you were in school, you learned this other thing about yourself. And then another thing at school happened, you developed some trauma around something. And then maybe you saw your parents fighting. We've got another rock here, so it's starting to get a little bit heavy, right? And then maybe you left school and you started to get into relationships. Relationships happened, something happened in your relationship that wasn't nice, and another rock in the bag, right? All these rocks are like the memories, the traumatic events or the memories, and they really create emotional responses. So the things that happen in your childhood, right? Maybe with your parents or at school or in your relationships, they create an emotional response. It's a memory, and then it gets added to the unconscious mind as a program about it gives you a sense of who you are as a person. It gives you a sense of what it means to be you, right? And so you keep stacking up and you have another relationship and maybe that one goes south. So you get another rock. Maybe you get, some problems with your career, right? And maybe you get some problems with money. Maybe your parents told you some things about money. And so you just keep stacking all of these rocks in here, right? And then all of a sudden, it's just getting heavier and heavier. And all of these rocks actually start like joining together as well, and they confirm each other. So maybe you develop this belief system around life's hard, like I'm not good in relationships. It's hard to get ahead in my career. I never have any money. All of these kinds of things. And so this bag, this hypothetical bag that is your mind, just develops this real heaviness because of all these rocks that are in there. All of these defining moments from the past that create your sense of self. All of these experiences, these memories, these emotional responses, and some habitual behaviors start to get developed. And all of that is going into the unconscious mind. And then the unconscious mind is directing 95% of your life in the present moment. And so consciously, 5%, you go, why aren't I getting where I want to get to? Why aren't I getting there? Why do I just continue to play the same patterns again? I continue to sabotage my relationships. I continue to sabotage my job, right? I continue to not have any money. Or like, why is that happening? Consciously, it's so confusing. I want this thing. Why can't I make it happen? Consciously, you're up here, you're in your head, you're kind of only 5%, only in 5% of the reality, and you're just really confused about why it happens. And maybe you start to get anxious. Maybe you start to doubt yourself. Maybe you start to get depressed. Consciously, why am I so anxious? Why am I so depressed? When you look at the unconscious mind and you realize, holy shit, look how much shit is in there from the past that I'm holding on to, right? And maybe you're holding on to it unconsciously and more things happen and it just gets really, really heavy. Like it starts to get really jammed up. See how jammed up that is? There's not much space. And so there's not much space in there. And this is when the anxiety goes, boom, maybe your whole life you didn't have anxiety or you didn't have depression and you were managing all right. And all of a sudden one day, boom, anxious, depressed, upset, like really struggling. A lot of people tell me this, right? It's like, oh yeah, I had some anxiety, or I had like I've always been an overthinker, or I've always doubted myself, or I've always had this issue, and but never was really a problem. And then one day, boom, it just gets too much. And the reason why it gets too much and it kind of blows up is because these things keep happening, and then after a little while, it's just smaller and smaller little things. And it's, some of the big ones happen in childhood, but then over time, it's just little things that just keep happening over and over again. And maybe you're an adult at this point, there's little things just keep happening. And so they're smaller and smaller things, but actually there's less and less space in your mind. And so all of a sudden, there's no more space. And when there's no more space, it's just totally jammed up and you get totally anxious and you get totally depressed and you become like a bomb that's just about to explode because there's too much pressure. So, and that's why you self-sabotage, and that's why you continue to self-sabotage, is because consciously you're going, I want this different thing, but then unconsciously you're just carrying around this huge bag full of heavy rocks, and it's really defining who you are. You're allowing the past to define the present, even if you are not conscious of it. It's unconscious, remember? So you're not even really aware of it. So you've got to wake up, right? And if you're here and you're listening to me talk about this stuff, then you're interested in change. You're interested in development. You're interested in growth. You're interested in becoming a better version of yourself. So what we've got to do, we've got to start deleting all of these past memories or letting go of the rocks, right? We let go. We let go of that memory. We let go of that memory. We let go of that memory. And we start just letting go. We let go of the past. Cool. I don't want to be defined by the past anymore. I let go. I let go. I let go. I'm letting go. And oh, now I'm starting to feel better. Now I'm starting to feel lighter. Boom, boom, boom. You let go of all of it. Let go of the past. Totally. And then all of a sudden, you're back at this blank canvas. And what we can start to do is install new programs, nice, healthy programs. Maybe we've got to put a star in there, like a really beautiful, healthy, shiny, new program, right? That's what we want to start installing, these new programs, right? So how do we do that? First, you got to let go. So this is the part where you have to actually let go of the past, right? You have to choose. I'm not going to live that way anymore. I'm not going to live from the past. I'm not going to define myself from the past. The past is the past. I'm going to choose to let go of it. And what that means is you have to emotionally uh, resolve your triggers. You have to take responsibility for resolving the anxiety or resolving the depression or resolving the anger, resolving the frustration, resolving those emotional traumas from the past. And we do that by letting go, which, the process for letting go is really got a lot to do with self-acceptance, forgiveness, right? That's how we can let go. We forgive the past, we accept ourselves for the past, and we also start to write new programs about the future. Who do we want to be? Right? Who do we want to be? So let me tell you how I do that with my clients and with my methods. Right? So that's the conscious mind, the unconscious mind. Now I'm going to walk you through a little bit of a process, right? So here's how to reprogram your mind. This is the process for reprogramming your mind, for adding in new programs. So we're adding in the stars, we're adding in the circles, the beautiful new programs into the mind, right? This is how we do it. You need to work with your thoughts, but you also need to work with your feelings, like I said. So it's an emotional thing, but it's also a mental thing. It's a mental and emotional. Now, the way that I like to talk about this is that your thoughts, it's like your mind, right? Or your logic. And it's also the masculine aspect of yourself, right? That's the thoughts. The thoughts is coming up here, the mind, the logic, and the masculine. But you've also got your feelings, right? Which is the heart, right? And it's the emotion. And it is the feminine, right? That's the feelings. So this is how the programs from the past, the ones that I said you need to let go of, this is how they're developed as well. Something happens, an experience happens, and then you have a thought about it, and then you have a feeling about it. And that's what creates a belief. Right? If you think about something and then you feel about it, it becomes a belief. So how do I do a little plus sign here? Thoughts plus, right? Thoughts plus feelings equals belief. Okay. So an example of this would be, let's just use religion as an example because it's an easy example. So say you believe in God, like the Christian God. You have a thought, God is real. You have a feeling, like I feel like God is real. And that's how you like I feel a connection to God, or I feel a connection to like this religious doctrine. And so then you have the thought, it's true. You read the book, oh, this makes sense. It's very logical, right? And then but you also feel connected to it. You feel like, yep, this is true. And then all of a sudden it becomes a belief. All right. Now the belief happens because you get evidence, right? Or proof. Now, this is very important. This is one of the things that people don't really talk about when it comes to reprogramming your mind. It's the evidence and the proof. Now, you get the evidence and you get the proof through consistent confirmation. So how does this, I'll give you an example of this as well. You believe in God, you go to church every Sunday. Every Sunday, you surround yourself with hundreds of people who also believe in God, and they are confirming what you believe, right? So you have a thought, I believe in God, a feeling, I want God, I want to, I feel God, I feel connected to that. And then you develop the belief, you develop a faith around it, all right? And then you go to church every Sunday, you put yourself in an environment that supports your belief, and that creates consistent confirmation. Every single Sunday, you're getting that consistent confirmation, right? And then what happens after that happens, after you get the belief, is there's a little part of your brain called the reticular activating system, right? The RAS, reticular activating system. Now, the job of the reticular activating system is to bridge the conscious and the unconscious, right? It is a bridge between conscious and unconscious, right? So let's say that you're starting to develop a belief system in the unconscious mind that you believe in God, for example. That's an unconscious belief that you've started to develop through your thoughts and your feelings. The job of the reticular activating system is to bridge that unconscious belief with the conscious mind. So how that's done is the reticular activating system will scan your environment looking for consistent confirmation of your beliefs. So whatever you believe, you know how people say, oh, you can believe whatever you achieve, or you can achieve whatever you believe, or whatever you believe, you can make that happen. Or your beliefs shape your reality, all that kind of stuff. It's your perspective because it's your belief, right? You believe something, so you have a certain perspective. If I believe that, that Jesus Christ is the one and only Savior, and that's my belief. If you believe that Allah and Muhammad are like the prophets, then that's your belief. Then there's two different perspectives, right? So if I believe in Jesus Christ and you believe in Allah, then we're going to have a different reality. We're going to have a different perspective. And but we're just humans, right? We're all just humans. The person that believes in Islam is a human, and the person who believes in Christianity is a human. And so we're the same humans. We have the same kind of brain. The brain does the same thing. The reticular activating system will look for confirmation in our reality that our belief is true. Now, this has got a lot to do with environment as well, where you are, right? Obviously, if you live, somewhere like in the Middle East, you're going to be probably more inclined to believe in Islam because everyone around you does. Where if you believe in, you live in the West, right, and you surround yourself with people who go to church, then you're more inclined to believe that because your environment does. But the brain is always going to be looking for the consistent confirmation of what you believe being true through the reticular activating system. So once you develop a belief, your brain is always looking for consistent confirmation that that belief is true, right? So, doesn't really matter what you believe. Whatever you believe, you will search for it as a truth in your reality. So let's say that you have an unconscious belief that you are not aware of that you suck and nothing works out for you, right? And you are shit at relationships. And your job is you're never going to get a pay rise because you're not worthy, you're not good enough. Let's say that's an unconscious belief. So you're not actually even aware of it, but like it's an unconscious belief. But consciously, in your mind, you're always thinking like, oh, I shouldn't go for that job, or maybe I shouldn't talk to that person, or oh, there's no point getting a relationship because I'm just gonna, it's not gonna work. All of those thoughts, all of that happening in the conscious mind is because your reticular activating system is searching for evidence and proof of your beliefs. Right? Belief is developed through evidence and proof. And if you have an unconscious belief that you're not good enough or something like that, or you're not worthy, your reticular activating system will take that unconscious belief and it will look for it consciously. It will look for proof of it. It'll look for the evidence. It'll look for that confirmation that, yeah, your belief is true. You suck. You're not good enough. You're never going to get anywhere. And then you keep self-sabotaging, right? You keep essentially trying to make change, but then your mind and your unconscious self is like stopping you from doing the things that you need to do, and it's like blinding you to the opportunities because you're not seeing the opportunities because your reticular activating system is not looking for the opportunities. It's looking for all of the opportunities that tell you that you suck, right? So if those unconscious beliefs are in there, or for example, with the client I was telling you about, right? She wasn't able to see that all she needed to do was make a change. All she needed to do was make a decision to go and do something differently and change. She wasn't actually seeing that as even as an opportunity because unconsciously she believes change is bad. So what she was looking for, in her perspective, was all of the reasons why she should not change. That's what her mind was doing that for, like with her not even aware of it. Her mind was searching for all of the reasons why she shouldn't change. And she kept seeing all of these reasons why it's dangerous to change. I've got a good job. I don't want to leave my job, right? If I go traveling, like it might mean that I don't have any friends. What about my relationships? So she's looking for all of these reasons why it's not a good idea to change her life. But ultimately, that's causing her to be anxious and depressed and, be thinking about, self-harm and stuff like that. She wanted to change, but her belief systems, her unconscious belief systems around the fear of change were actually keeping her stuck and making it very like I can't see, I feel stuck. What do I do? She literally couldn't even see that it's just as easy as making a decision to actually go and do it. And that if you were to change, you would have lots of potential opportunities. But she wasn't seeing the opportunities because her reticular activating system was not looking for opportunities. It was only looking for all of the things that could go wrong because that was her belief system. When a change happens, things go wrong and it's dangerous and it's scary because that's what she learned from her childhood. That was her mental program. So the next thing that happens, right, once you start seeing the consistent confirmation, I'm just going to see if I can make this a little bit smaller. Once you start seeing consistent confirmation, it can either go up. So the consistent confirmation can work in your favor or it can work against you. Now, let me explain what I'm talking about. Let's say you have a positive belief, right? You get positive confirmation, aka you can, right? Awesome. You have a positive belief equals positive confirmation, aka you can do it, right? So that can work in a positive way, but it can also work in a negative way. Negative confirmation, aka you can't, right? Hope you guys can see that, all right? So, like I said, your reticular activating system is looking for confirmation of your beliefs anyway. If you have positive beliefs, you will look for positive confirmation, aka you can. You're going to look for all the reasons why you can do it. But if you have negative beliefs or limiting beliefs, your reticular activating system is impartial. It doesn't care. It's still going to look for the confirmation of those negative beliefs, aka you can't, right? And then what happens even then after that is once you consistently see this thing, a positive confirmation or a negative confirmation, next thing that happens, right, is it becomes a conviction, right? So conviction, you get convicted in your beliefs. Convicted, aka confident, aka faith, right? So let me just explain this as well. What am I talking about here? If you have a belief that is consistently confirmed, you will become convicted in that thing, right? Like you become very confident in this thing. Now, confidence is a funny one, right? Because confidence can work in both ways. Confidence can work in a positive way or it can work in a negative way. You could be very, very confident that things don't work for you. You can be very, very confident that you will never find a partner. I talked to a guy yesterday, a new guy who came onto my coaching program, and he said he's only young, like he's like 30, he's got a good job and stuff like that, good looking dude, pretty normal dude. And he started to tell me that he thinks that he He's preparing himself for never having a family or never having a relationship because he's so anxious. Like we're going to work on that, right? But he's so anxious that he just thinks he's become confident that he will never find someone. So he's got a thought and a feeling and a belief, and it's being consistently confirmed. Maybe he's not having much luck in the dating scene, or he's feeling anxious, or feeling socially awkward. So he's got that negative confirmation, consistently just confirming you can't, you can't, you can't. Now to the point where he was almost like he was confident that he wasn't going to find anyone, and he was preparing for like a life with no like love, like no relationship. So you can see that's a negative confirmation, right? So he's developing confidence that he's not going to find anyone, right? So that's one way this can work. Now, obviously, we change that belief. You can find someone, right? And we're going to work on changing the thoughts, changing the feelings, changing the beliefs, installing a new program, by letting go of the old programs, like I talked about, unpacking all the rocks out of that bag, letting go of those old programs, putting in a new program, putting in new thoughts, new beliefs, and then we're going to work on and creating consistent confirmation because you can consciously create consistent confirmation by yourself. You can train your brain to look for all of the good things that could happen in your life. Right. So you start to look for positive confirmation. Now, a little like side note, this is like gratitude, right? If you wake up every day and you choose gratitude, I'm going to choose to be grateful for having this or having that or having this or having that. That's positive confirmation. You're being grateful that you have a house over your head, that you have money in your bank account, that you have a job, that that you have a body, that you're healthy, right? That you have food in your fridge, right? So these little things are positive confirmations that you can actually be a normal functioning human and you can have success in your life because you've already got some stuff, right? Maybe you got a nice iPhone, right? That's a pretty cool thing. Like these little things that you can be grateful for, they're positive confirmations that confirm to you that you can. And the more that you confirm those little things to yourself, the more that you become convicted or confident or faithful that you actually can do the thing, whatever it is. But you got to be mindful. This works both ways. It can be positive and it can be negative. So now that you've seen this little model, how does it actually work, right? We need to start back here. We don't start over where I was just talking about. We start here. You have to change your thoughts and feelings, right? So we're coming back over here now. This is where it starts. Your thoughts and feelings about things. And then you work on your thoughts and feelings about things and it creates a belief. And then from the new belief, once you've identified what the new belief is, then you can work on creating consistent, like confirmation. So this reticular activating system, like I said, it's impartial, but you can train it. You can train it to look a certain way. And when you do, you start to develop positive confirmation, you start to develop confidence, you start to develop faith. So that's what we want to start with. We want to start with thoughts and feelings. Now, that's that. That's how you reprogram your mind. That's how you beat self-sabotage. When you start to reprogram your mind, when you become aware that you have unconscious patterns that are running your life, and you consciously work on changing your thoughts, changing your feelings, reprogramming your mind, developing new beliefs, training yourself on a daily basis to really overcome those beliefs and create new beliefs and search for confirmation of those new beliefs, you can create a whole new reality for yourself. No. But you got to understand, firstly, currently you are running off unconscious programs. You need to clear out the unconscious programs and you need to then install new programs, right? Now, if you do want some help with this, I have two programs which I can help you do this exact thing. I have the Conscious Creator Program, which is where you get one-on-one access to me. Plus, I will teach you all of the methods, all of the techniques, all of the frameworks to really just actually implement what we were just talking about here. That's the Conscious Creator Program. It's a one-on-one coaching program. You can find the details for that below this video after the replay is up, or you can just hit me up on Instagram, look at my website, anything like that. I'll send you the information for that. Or I have another program which is called Anxiety to Alignment. So there's no one-on-one access in there. It's a group program. It's an online course where I will teach you the frameworks. I'll teach you the methods. I'll teach you the techniques. Right? So same thing. If you want access to either one of those courses, send me a message. Go and have a look at my website. It's all on there. Or if you're watching this replay, there's a link below. So That's it, guys. That is how to beat self-sabotage. I hope that gives you a thorough and detailed understanding of how the unconscious mind works, how the conscious mind works, and how you can actually reprogram the mind. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here with me on this fine Wednesday morning, and have a great week. I will speak to you soon.